So we've made a start on the upper hull. I'm going to show you the various bits that I've already done off camera, and then show you some other stuff that we're going to do on camera. So we've sort of skipped ahead in the instructions, and we've attached the fuel tanks on the right hand side of the hull. Now in the kit there's no fuel line detail, so a quick look online has essentially given me a rough guide of where these fuel lines run, and what I've done is drilled some holes and used 0.5mm evergreen plastic rod, which is quite pliable, and kind of put the fuel lines in along the fuel tanks on the right hand side of the hull, just to add that little bit of extra detail. We've added this bit here. What we've done is we put this engine door here, and we've added one of the storage boxes here, and we've finished the bits and bobs on the front. Now you will see on the front there's some 1mm plastic evergreen plastic rod, and then you'll see here they're molded into the actual hull itself is a weld seam. Well, we're going to replicate that and try and make it a bit better. So I've left this big middle bit off to show you how I'm going to do it, and then essentially we'll do these. We'll do the same on the turret, etc. Underneath, I've left these supports in just to give us something to hold, really. Underneath the engine grates, I've just cut some plastic card to size. The reason being, there's no engine detail, so even with the grills and stuff that are going to go on top of here, this allows us to kind of cover up that gap. So as we look into it, once the model's completed, it will just be black, it'll be dark, so we're not seeing inside of a hole that's got nothing in it, really. So that's that. The only other modifications I've made so far is, you'll notice I've cut off this bit here, and that's because I'm going to do this kind of beaten and dented and damaged. So we've done that, and I just cut that off with a razor saw, sanded it fairly smooth, and once it's all painted and weathered around here, that will look hopefully like I want it to look. The other thing I've done is, I'm not going to have the storage box at the front here. We're going to have some sort of damage around this part of the tank. So the storage box has been ripped off or removed. So what I've done is, at the rear here, where we've got these locating tabs for the storage box, I just cut those off with a sharp blade, went in with a UMP sander and just sanded it. It's quite rough at the minute, but that's fine because we're going to put some rust texture around here. So that's the plan with this bit, this section here. These weld seams that are molded in, they're fine. They're a lot more pronounced, and to my eye they look okay. So here, 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 and here. So I'm not going to bother replicating those, whereas the one on the front here is very small, so I want to increase that for some visual interest. So that's where we're at the minute. The only other thing I've done is attach these little side lights on this side, and I'll show you these on the other side here, where we've got that little hole for them to go into. So that's where we're at the minute. So if we can sort our instruction manual, now what you will see is certain parts of this I've marked off because I've kind of gone ahead, done certain bits and not done others. So what we need to do now is, we need to put this bit on here, D41, and we need to put D4 on, which is going to form the exhaust. Essentially, it's telling us to remove these bits here. Obviously we're going to have to remove this one to get the big panel on, but this one I'm going to leave really right up until the last minute, because it's great to hold, and potentially we can even mount the hull on this for painting. We're not going to attach the hull to the lower hull at this stage, purely and simply for ease of painting, but that will become clear in later videos. So what we need to do is, we need to put on this bit here, which is D48, which is kind of the bracket that holds this fender in place. So if we go to our sprues, and sprue D, so we're looking for D48, which should be fairly easy to spot. because I've used all the others already. So here it is, D48, and we're just cutting that off and placing that on. And it doesn't really require any major cleanup at all. So where we've got that little bit where we've cut it off there, we can just very carefully scrape off the remnants with a sharp blade. And what that will allow is that will allow it to sit flush on the fender, and it's going into this hole here. So bit of extra thin, dead easy this. So a bit of extra thin into that hole like so, and then with our tweezers popping it in. Fits perfectly. And then what you want to do is just make sure that it's sort of a 90-degree angle to the fender itself. And there we go. So where it's a little bit rough, where I've removed and sanded on the fender, so we'll probably put some denting on this fender around this front bit, but here we can potentially have the rust and damaged sort of coming across, but we'll see when we get into the painting stage. We'll see what looks right and what doesn't really. So now we're plopping we're not plopping, we're popping D27 and D4 on to this side. So we'll go with D4 first, and this, as I say, is going to form the basis of the exhaust system. So D4 and D27. There we go. So again, don't require any major cleanup, but if I get my sanders, so again using UMP sanders, and we'll just get rid of that. Like so. There we go. Dead simple. No pressure at all. And it cleans up lovely. And we'll do the same here, just where we've removed it. Like so. Okay. So we've got these two sort of locating holes here, and then on the back of this piece we've got these two locating pins. So dead easy. We're just going to drop a little bit of extra thin in both of those and push that into place like so. Make sure we're in the right spot, and then just push it home like that. And then what we'll do is just run a very thin bead of extra thin along the top here, just to make sure that's nice and flush and stuck into place. And then same on this side, we've got this locating tab here, and then this kind of cut out bit in the hole. So very thin bead of extra thin, and the capillary action will take that everywhere you need it to go. And then that will just, he says, that will just slide into place like so. And we know we're in the right position there. Lovely, job done. And then obviously the turret is going to go on top of here. So we're going to have pen, because we want to kind of make sure that we've covered every step now in this, because there's quite a lot of detail to add onto the upper hole. The instructions will even tell you to use tweezers, so it's very simple, very simple, and remove any flash, etc. So now we're looking for D41 in step 5. We've already done the smaller panel here. So D41 is this large panel here. So we just cut that away And then what we'll do is just clean it up around the edges with the sander. And it should just sit into place. So make sure you got it the right way round. So you're essentially looking for that position. So this kind of funny shaped hatch towards the fuel tanks, and the square hatch, and this kind of little indent here is going to fit around there. So just make sure you got it the right way round. And then we'll just get rid of where we removed it from the sprue, like so. Nice and straightforward. And then what we're going to have to do is remove this kind of support strut. The reason that's there, obviously in transit, is to try and prevent, you know, if the boxes are getting bashed about, etc., then it is to try and prevent any warping of the actual hull, which is obviously molded in one piece. And that's why they're there. They're very useful. And this one, as I say, the middle one will stay pretty much as long as possible, because it's very useful to hold. And while we're messing about with this and cutting bits and sanding and stuff, it would just give it a bit more stability. So hopefully we can avoid any warping of the hull or snapping it. You'd have to go some to snap it, but even so, it has been done. I've done it before. And there we go. That panel, that's just a dry fit, is just going to fit in there like so. So what we need to do is turn it over, and we're just going to put some extra thin along there and some extra thin along there, all the way around, and that should hold it in place. Almost spot welding it. But yeah, these ejector pin marks and stuff underneath we're not going to worry about, because they'll never ever be seen. And the actual top of it is fine. So that's going to slot into place like so. And we just make sure we're nice and square, that we've got it in the right place, and it kind of clicks into place. You can feel it. And then we'll turn the hull over. Just make sure we're where we need to be. Job done. So that's step 5. Obviously at this stage we haven't done the tracks. Road wheels are off, and we're not going to attach the upper hull to the lower hull at this stage. So all of these bits we've done that I've marked off, because they are literally just placing them in the correct holes. You've seen me do the tie down points on the rear panel, etc., etc. Headlights and this storage bin we're not going to do. That's why it's crossed through, because that's for the front here where we've not going to put it. So headlights we'll do in a bit. So what we're doing now is we've got to do these side lights. We've got a bit of a horn going on here, covers here for the periscope ports, the observation ports for the driver, etc., etc. So first thing we're looking for is we are looking for C58 and C55. So if I get my correct sprue, so this is where it's beneficial to label your sprues, because then you're not searching around looking for them. I wasn't searching around looking for it, honest. So C58 is there, and C55. Now these are tiny, tiny pieces, so just be very, very careful. Hold it as you're cutting it away from the sprue, because otherwise you're going to lose it for sure. And C55. So they don't require loads of cleanup, but they will require a touch. So what we're going to do is these pieces are going to form the side lights here, which I've done on the other side. here. Very, very simple, typical Tamiya quality. So what we're going to do is go in with a sharp blade and just remove that bit there, like so, because you want this to sit nice and flush. So as you can see here, we've got this pin that's going to go into the hole that's on the hull. So we want it to sit nice and flush. And then on the top there, we've just got the point there where we removed it from the sprue. So again, we're going with our sander, very gently, just get that nice and smooth. Dead simple. Like so. And then that's going to glue into place. So you've got these sort of forward looking indicator stroke side lights, warning lights, and we've also got ones that point out to the exterior on each side of the vehicle. So we've got a little plastic tab there, and we're just going to glue that in place like so. Then if you use your tweezers just to get it home, so straight away, as soon as that extra thing starts to bite, it just makes it easier. It kind of holds it in place for you, where you just make sure that you're in the right place, which we are. So we'll just let that dry. So put it to one side, but remember where you've put it because it's tiny. So you don't want to lose that. So we've done this bit. D50 is the horn. So here we've got a little cutout that the horn's going to fit into. So we're looking for D30. And there it is. Again, a very small piece, so hold on to it as you cut it away from the sprue, because you don't want to lose it. And then if we look at the instructions, we're going in, oh, excuse me. So it will only go one way, I think, which is fine. So what we want to do, we don't really need to worry about this at all. So we just put a little bit of extra thin in there, get our tweezers, and place it in there. Like so. Make sure that we're completely flush. There's nothing really for it to kind of grip onto or hold onto. It may be easier if you do this before you attach this sort of semicircle piece onto the hull. It is a little bit tricky. Again, that's paying dividends because I can hold it. Nice steady hand, and hopefully. So once it starts to bite, then you can very gently adjust the position. And there we have our horn. And once that extra thin really cures, that shouldn't move. That should be fine. So by this stage, our side light should be done. We've got the locating hole already there for us on the hull. So a little bit of extra thin in there and where the piece is going to go. And it should be as simple as making sure we're in the right place. Yeah, that was a lot easier, wasn't it? So just making sure we drive that home nice and flush, and there we go. Really easy, really easy. It's just patience, that's the key. So we're going to do the headlights shortly. We've attached everything else now, that's all marked on here, other than the extra tracks, which we're not going to put on at this stage. if at all. If we do decide to put them on, we're going to paint them off the hull. So we just need to work on the driver's hatch. So depending on which version you're doing, so we're doing E, and you can do 5 different versions. So what it's telling us is for E, we need D40 and D42. If we were doing B or D, then we don't need that. So I'm guessing this goes on top here. So if we find the pieces, so we've got the hatch itself, and then this additional piece here. So that's an internal piece, which should fit on the hatch in that sort of position, but it is internal. Do we need to bother, is the question, with all the other work we've got to do? No is the answer to that. So we'll get rid of that, move that out of the way, and then essentially the hatch is just gonna, with this pin here, is just gonna slot in there. So we'll just make sure that it's nice and smooth and no problems. It is easy as that, and then that should just slot into that hole. We're going to have the hatches closed. We've got no internal detail on this kit at all, so it slots in, and if we can, with everything, we'll try and glue it from the underside. So a little bit of extra thin around that pin there, and then there. So if you're having the hatches open and you're doing version E, then absolutely you might want to put that bit on, because it is an internal part of the hatch on the later versions, but we are never ever going to see it, so we can omit that step. So get our pen, we've done all this, hatches on, D19 we've already done, A26 we've already done, A17, which is the tracks, we're not going to do at this stage. Storage box we're not putting on. So we've got to move on, and we've got to do these headlights. So I'll come back and then we'll have a go at these headlights. See you in a minute. So we're moving on to the headlights. As I say, we're not constructing this storage box because we're not using it. So again, it's dependent on which version you're doing. So this one we can essentially ignore because that's for versions A and B. C, D and E are this one. So looking at it, the differences are really, there's very little difference. It's a different headlight holder here, and it's a slightly different headlight shroud here, slightly bigger by the looks of it. So first thing we need is A7, which is going to be our actual headlight holders themselves. So A7, so there's 2 on each sprue. Again, just put them to one side, be careful you don't lose them, although you will have, in fact no, we don't need A7, I'm talking rubbish. We need A8, which are the slightly larger headlights, headlamps, whatever you want to call them. So there's 1 on each sprue. Obviously sprue A is identical, so get those cut off. That's the first thing we need to do. Then we're looking for C35, so it's probably going to be easier to mount, these look like they mount onto the front here. It's probably going to be easier to mount those onto C35 before we try and put these bits in, I think. I think that's going to be the way to go. So let's find that bit and have a look. So sprue C. And this sort of headlight guard here, which is piece 35. And my eyes are not working apparently this morning. There it is. So this is going to be quite delicate. So just be careful when you're removing it, because you want to make sure that you're not cutting the actual piece. You are just removing it from the sprue. There we go. So as we can see, we've got, by the looks of it, some bits and bobs on here. So we're looking for the two larger pieces should be this way, and then the headlights are going to fit on, or the lamps themselves, to these bits here. So that looks quite straightforward. So my initial thought of we're going to need to attach these first, we're not going to. What we're going to do is put these bits in so that when we're attaching those, we're not sort of bashing the headlights and moving them backwards, and then we can put the top headlight guard on. So we've just got a couple of little bits there where we've removed it from the sprue. So less than 5 seconds, they're gone. That's the benefit of good sanders, you see. Makes these type of jobs very easy, very quick. So now we're looking for C51 and A6, and it's telling us to remove this little locating point here. So C51 is the actual sort of headlight shroud, I think we could describe that as. So again, careful as you remove it, so you're not cutting into the actual circular piece. And then we'll get sprue A. And we're looking for number 5, which is here. Not number 5, I'm talking rubbish. A6. So we've got 2 of these on this sprue, but we don't want to lose one if we can help it. So A5. And then it's telling us that on A5 we need to remove this little tab here. It's very difficult for you guys to see, I appreciate that. But we've got like a little tab here, which we need to remove before we attach it to the actual headlamp holder. So we'll take our sprue cutters, remove the majority of it, and then again, sharp blade, just be very careful of your thumb, your finger, like so, and we're done. So we're going to place that into one of, oh, dropped it, one of the headlamp holders. It should be hopefully nice and straightforward. So a little bit of extra thin there. Get our tweezers, and that should just pop in place. We want it nice and central. Like so. There we go. So that's that one done. Let that cure. And then this headlight shroud, we should have just a little, again, we've got this little tab which it's telling us to remove. So we'll do that in exactly the same way. Sprue cutters and a sharp blade. That's all we need. Just be careful. Job done. And then again, that's going to fit into here. It should be a bit easier because it's a bit bigger. You've got something to sort of hold on to. So some extra thin. And then we'll take that with our tweezers and pop it in. Obviously have the shroud at the top. I think the idea is that if there's an air threat, kind of use this one because the idea of the shroud, which is a very old piece of technology really, the idea of the shroud is that it masks it from the air. So it kind of, it's a token effort of protecting vehicles from air attack. In modern day warfare, it's irrelevant completely. But there we go. So then all we need to do is pop these onto the headlight guard or headlight mount at the bottom. So this piece, make sure that you're getting them the right way round. On the bottom we have this kind of little divot which will fit onto there. So we'll put a drop of glue on there, and then with that divot at the bottom, this should, all being equal, just these are going to be very delicate, these headlight guards, so just be very careful because you don't want to bend them or warp them. So just be very careful as you're holding it, and where that bracket is, it fits on like so. Just make sure it's nice and straight, which it is. And there we go. Perfect. Well, sort of perfect. And then we'll do the same with this one and then attach the top piece. So I'll do that off camera. I'm already thinking, and I'll have a look at some reference pictures. I am guessing there's going to be wiring coming out the back of these headlights. I can't imagine on a T55 that would be internal, but I'll check. And if that's the case, then we'll add some wiring detail just to the rear of these headlights, just to give it a bit more interest. So I'll get the other one attached, get the top on, then come back. So see you in a minute. So while we're waiting for the headlight assembly to dry, we've started working on these engine grills. So Tamiya put in the kit this kind of fine mesh material and these sort of templates here. So what we're going to do is, I've done one, I'm going to show you the other one, and then we'll do these two little ones off camera. So using the template, if you put the mesh over the template and then with a really sharp blade, hold it in position and kind of score down this plastic mesh. And that's all you really need to do. So just scoring along that line, nice and gentle, nice and gentle. And there you go, you've cut that, and then a dab of CA glue in each kind of corner, like so. And then that will hold it in place. So just have to be quite careful because obviously CA glue sticks to fingers way more than it'll ever stick to plastic. Well, that's my experience anyway. So yeah, just putting that in place, and there we go, it's stuck to my finger already. So try and keep your fingers away, and then just using a cut down toothpick or cocktail stick, pushing that into place. You will ruin your instructions doing that, by the way. So if you, for whatever reason, if you want to keep your instructions pristine, then a little copy or measure it and use it that way. There we go. And just kind of hold that in place and work your way around, and that's it. So that's how we're going to do it. We'll get all these done, by which time the headlight assembly should be dry. We'll come back, have a look at that, put these engine grills on, storage box on, and then we're ready to move on. So I'll see you in a minute. Okay folks, so essentially the headlight assembly is all done and dry, but what you can see at the rear is I have added some wiring. I couldn't see on any of the reference pictures I looked at, it didn't show the rear of this sort of headlight assembly here, but I thought, you know, for visual interest I'll put some in, why not? So we've done that. What you will notice as well is I've now primed the engine deck in UMP black primer. The reason I've done that is once I fit the grills on top of it, it'd be very, very difficult to get paint in to these sort of bits here without clogging up that mesh with paint, which we don't want to do. So I've primed that already. That will just stay black and create a shadow around the engine deck. So that's done. So all we're required to do now really for the upper deck is this storage box here, which we built up. It's just 5 pieces, dead simple. You're just building a box, popping the exhaust shrouds on, and popping these engine deck covers on with the various hinges and stuff. So that's dead simple. So we'll start with the big one first, and as I say, I have primed, and I've primed the inside of the cover for exactly the same reason that I've done the engine deck, just for ease, and it will make a difference once we get into the paint stage, because we don't want to clog this up if we can help it. So that should, all being equal, just slot on top like so. So that's dry fitted currently, and there we go. So that's going to do that. So what we will do is we will put some extra thin. Now bear in mind, we have applied UMP primer to this, so we will get a little bit of the paint coming off, I'm sure, as we add the extra thin, but that's not a problem because it's not where we're going to see it. So it's not an issue for us at all. And then again here, extra thin, let that capillary action do its thing, and there we go. Now we're going to turn that over, making sure we're doing it in the right way, and just pop that on top. Move it down till it's in place, and then just press it home. And it kind of clicks in, you'll feel it if you're in the right sort of position. Try and keep your hands away from the mesh, and drive it home on the plastic. So then we've got this hinge that essentially fits there, which obviously the hinge that the deck cover would use. So again, making sure we're the right way round, which is that sort of position, and then we just put a dab of extra thin in these locating points here, and that should just go into place. So we'll use tweezers because we don't want to warp it or bend it by putting too much pressure on it. That would be bad. And there we go. So it just adds that extra little bit of detail to it. So if you put your hand underneath, so you're not warping the hull as you're pressing that down, and then you can put a little bit more pressure on it to make sure. There we go. So the other ones I'll put on off camera, you've seen one. So the exhaust shroud is in 2 pieces essentially. So we've got this kind of curved bit here with these 2 locating pins, and that's just going to fit on top. So again, glue where hopefully we won't ever see it, and we'll just guide that into place like so. And then we've got this sort of cover that goes on here with these 2 bits either side, so that will just slide down. So for that one, we'll just put extra thin all the way around there, like that. Get our tweezers, making sure we're the right way around, and then we'll slide that into place until those bits on the side are flush with the fender. And there we go. So that's the exhaust shroud. The storage box, we've got these locating sort of bits here that I took off because we're not going to put the storage box on the front, so it should just slot into place on those. And obviously the box is hollow. So what we'll do is run some extra thin all the way around the inside of the storage box, and not on the actual hull itself, all the way around the inside like so. And then there is a locating point, so we can pop it on there, and that should, if we build it correctly, which we have, just slot into place like that. So that's our storage box. The fuel tanks we talked about, I've already added those because I wanted to do the fuel lines, the evergreen rod. And that's pretty much it. So all that's left to do really is a couple of these fender holders. You've seen me do one of the hose. We've got these sort of rear indicators, stop lights at the back, same as the front pretty much, engine deck covers, and then we're done. So I'll do those bits off camera. Then we're moving on to step 10. Now I'm not going to add any of this, so no external fuel drums, no snorkel, no log. Completely leave that out, so that's completely gone for that step. Tow cables, I am going to put these on, however I'm going to show you how I do them because they come in the nylon string that you attach to a styrene. So we'll do that probably in the painting video or stowage video, and we'll add these on because I obviously want to show you how I do those. So that's it. So we'll come back to step 11. So then in the next video we're going to be on to step 12, and we're going to be putting the turret together. Now I always find that the turret is kind of the most interesting part of any tank build, because that's the business bit really. So yeah, so that's going to be in the next video. We'll get that turret done. We're going to add some weld seams, we're going to add some cast texture and all that good stuff to it, and the metal barrel obviously. So I will see you in what will be the third video, where we're going to get this turret all together, get it done, and then pretty much we're ready for paint at that stage. So we'll get it into primer and stuff. But yeah, so I'll see you next time. Thank you very much for watching. Don't forget to hit the like and subscribe. Go and visit umpretail.com. Go and visit emodels.co.uk. Yeah, and I'll see you next time. Stay safe, happy hobbying. Bye bye.